Hi there, I'm Noel Plum, and you are watching The Atheist Edge. At least you will be in a minute.
The Aghori religion is an offshoot of Hinduism that wholly denies the existence of evil. Acolytes believe that everything in the universe comes from their god, Brahma, and they ritually eat the corpses of the recently deceased.
Have you ever had a crisis of faith? Perhaps a meager, lingering doubt in the back of your mind? If so, guess what? You're doomed. Only those who are believers, who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and have never doubted. The one who doubts is like the wave of a sea, blown and tossed by the wind. The person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. That's as strong a pronouncement against doubt as I think I've ever read. I mean, countless versions of Christianity are opposed to doubt. Generally speaking, doubt is a good thing. Not denial, not just, oh, I won't believe at all, but saying, hey, is that really true? Do I have good reason to believe that? Islam and Christianity and other religions want to be excused from doubt, even reasonable doubts. And so it's best if they set aside this notion that if you doubt, you're of double mind and you are unstable in all that you do, and you will not benefit from the rewards of your belief, you doubting doubter, you.
Once upon a time, everyone on earth spoke the same language. Forget that humans have been speaking different languages for at least the last 200,000 years. The people of the world got together and decided to build a tower to reach heaven. This really pissed God off. Not because of the people's swollen sense of pride, but because he thought they might actually be able to pull it off. So God punishes them, and all future generations by scattering them all over the globe and preventing them from communicating with each other by assigning them different languages. He must not have foreseen the use of translators. And in this day and age, my phone, my iPad has a translator. That's all you need. But it's funny because human beings decided to come together for a cause. The one time that they decide to work in unity and do something together as a people, but somehow God didn't like it. His ego was too big to accept it, and so he said, nope, I'll scatter you all because I don't want you all working together. It's ridiculous.
Sikhism is a monotheistic religion. It's the fifth largest religion in the world. They have no clergy, and services are held in something called a gurdwara, parentheses temple, by the congregation. Those that have taken the Amrit, which is a kind of baptism, carry ceremonial daggers. Even in schools where their secular classmates receive a 1-year suspension for carrying a small pocket knife. I understand, by the way, this is not from Jim, but I understand that they wear a turban, and inside that turban is actually where they carry that dagger. They wear turbans and don't cut their hair. They wear loose drawstring underwear called kachera. Their founder, Guru Nanak, was baptized in a river, received visions, was thought to be dead but returned on the third day. Hinduism and Islam are basically the same things. And the last bullet point from Jim here is all humans have a direct connection to God and can achieve spiritual perfection at any time.
One of Muhammad's wives was 6 years old. He began systematically raping her when she was 9. There are no words for this. How can anyone call such a monster great? This is who God sent to perfect the morals of the people? Is that the best your God could do?
The belief that evil spirits can enter you, affect your physical and mental health, and control your actions is still alive and well in the 21st century. Every major religion on earth accepts the concept of spiritual possession. Many believe there are individual demons for every type of malady possible, a separate demon of caffeine addiction, a bone cancer demon, etc. Anthropologists and psychologists have noted likely causes as vitamin deficiencies and pre-existing mental illness. Women are more likely to be possessed, possibly due to compensation for their exclusion from other spheres within their respective cultures. It's also common during patriarchal cultures to blame a woman's mood swings during her normal menstrual cycle on demons.
God helps many women become pregnant in the Bible. The resulting offspring are always male. Yeah, so this idea of God helping women to become pregnant is a fairly, it's a repeated theme throughout the Old Testament, surely. And it really has to do with this idea, and again we keep circling around this concept of sexuality as being something of significance to Yahweh, right? So you've got Judah and Tamar with Onan spilling his seed on the ground. You've got the high places and the Asherah that have to be cut down whenever Israel, sort of gets rid of these quote unquote pagan things. And you've got all these rules about, how to deal with the uncleanness that comes about with issues of semen or of menstrual blood. Like that's a big deal. You have to clean it just the right way, like you're cleaning up some radioactive spill, basically. And it all centers around the idea that sex and procreation are incredibly powerful acts. And I mean that literally, that there is a power that is invoked when you bring about a new life. And that the person who is in charge of that power and maintains sort of a monopoly of control over that power is Yahweh. And that's the sort of the primary way by which Yahweh exerts control over his people, by ensuring that everyone knows that the new life that sustains their communities, both in terms of the new generation of people as well as in their livestock, that all has to do with the power that Yahweh ultimately holds and maintains for them. So the power of Yahweh over the womb, the ability to open the womb and close the womb, if he so desires, is a demonstration of this power, right? So it goes back to the idea that God is in charge of everything, and so this most important thing to us, right, this ability for ourselves as well as our livestock to procreate, is something that Yahweh can turn on or turn off at like a flick of a switch. Especially with firstborn, right? So there's something special about the firstborn of anything, really. So the firstborn of your children, the firstborn of your livestock, whatever is the entity that opens the womb, right? So if you have a you have a virgin daughter and you marry her off, she gets pregnant. The first child that comes out is the child that opens up the womb, and so it's the stepping through that door, that life portal, is a sacred thing, a special thing, and there's some magic that's imbued in that firstborn, whatever, whether it's a baby or whether it's a calf or a goat kid or whatever. There's some magic that comes from Yahweh to make that happen. And so because of that, because Yahweh has to expend some of his magical energy, let's say, in order to open up that womb for the first time, that energy has to be returned back to him, right? Or else Yahweh gets depleted. And so there's this concept of the sacrificing of the firstborn are owed to God. And this exists in Exodus chapter 13, where he's talking about the way to sort of ritually set aside the firstborn once they return to the land of Canaan. So when Yahweh brings you, I'll just read this section. When Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and shall give it to you, you shall set apart to Yahweh all the first that opens the womb. All the firstborn of your animals that are males shall be Yahweh's. Every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. Every firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem. And when in time to come your son asks you, what does this mean? You shall say to him, by a strong hand Yahweh brought us out of Egypt from the house of slavery. For when Pharaoh suddenly refused to let us go, Yahweh killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of animals. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all the males that first open the womb, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. It shall be as a mark on your hand or frontlets between your eyes, for by a strong hand Yahweh brought us out of Egypt. So it's this idea that Yahweh has claim to all the firstborn. And so that's the reason why he was able to do what he did in Egypt. He was able to kill the firstborn because of his power over them. And the Hebrews have to continue paying homage to that and giving the firstborn of their animals back to God, i.e. sacrificing them. So you kill the animal that opens the womb, and that magic floats back on up to heaven and to Yahweh. You don't do that with your sons. That probably is an innovation. It probably is the case that the Abraham and Isaac story was intended as an educational sort of a story to let people know that you shouldn't be sacrificing your sons anymore. So if you need a story to tell you that you shouldn't be sacrificing your sons anymore, then the implication is that they probably were sacrificing their sons prior to that for the same reason, right? So if you have to sacrifice the firstborn goats and the firstborn donkeys and the firstborn sheep and everything like that, then you have to do that with your own sons as well, or else risk losing God's power. And if God's power disappears, then there'll be a drought and then everybody will die. So it's better to sacrifice your firstborn and send that magical energy back to Yahweh than to take a risk of entering a drought and having everybody in the community die. That would be even worse. So then to the point that Jim raises, where you've got all these sort of heroes, really, all these individuals throughout the Bible where their mothers were unable to conceive. They were barren. That's the way the Bible puts it. The idea that if a woman is unable to have a child, it's her fault. There's something wrong with her womb, right? So this is a pre-scientific understanding of the way that reproduction works. Now, of course, we know that it requires gametes from men and women, and you can have problems that cause a woman to be unable to conceive, but you can also have those same problems stem from what the male contributes as well. So this is a pre-scientific sort of concept. We see this already. But this is also a way of sort of outlining the specific, right? So the specific intervention of Yahweh into the birth of these people also underlines the fact that these are important people. These are heroes that should be taken special notice of. And this happens quite a few times. Every single one of the early fathers of the Hebrews, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have to deal with this. So Abram, later Abraham, and his wife Sarai, later Sarah. Sarah is barren, and has, it is presumed, or is implied, that she is barren because Yahweh has kept her womb closed, and that when he tells her that she will give birth, it's because now I've decided to open it, and it's in my power to do that. And so she gives birth to Isaac. And then, of course, Isaac, being the firstborn male, is subject to being sacrificed, which is why Abraham takes him out to sacrifice him at Yahweh's command. When Yahweh asks him to do that, Abraham doesn't complain because he knows the rule. The rule is the firstborn son, the firstborn male, is always sacrificed, because that magic has to go back to God. And presumably, Yahweh could send a second son, or some people think that Abraham was hoping that Yahweh would resurrect Isaac, but whatever. He didn't complain because he knew that was the rule. You have to sacrifice your son. You don't complain about that. That's assumed. So Abraham dealt with that with Sarah. Then Isaac and Rebekah. Rebekah, it's not made a big deal in the story, but she was barren for a time until Yahweh opened up her womb, and then she had Jacob and Esau. And then Jacob got married to Rachel, and Rachel was barren for quite some time. And there's the issue with Leah and Rachel, where God opened up Leah's womb, but not Rachel's womb. But then eventually he did, and she had Joseph, and Joseph was a big deal. So all three of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all had to deal with barren women. And two of them were the children of barren women. And then Joseph, who saved the Hebrews in Egypt, was a really important person. And later, the next most important person in the story is probably Samuel. His mother, Hannah, was barren. She prayed to Yahweh to open up her womb, and he gave her Samuel. In Judges, we have Samson. So Samson's mother was barren until Yahweh opened up her womb. There's an implication that David's wife, Michal, had her womb closed by Yahweh as well, although that's not quite as big of a thing. And she was not the mother of Solomon anyway. So maybe that's sort of a side thing. And that's sort of it for the Old Testament. Then we get to the New Testament, and we see the same sort of a thing happening again with Elizabeth, who is Mary's cousin, where she's been barren her entire life, presumably because Yahweh kept her womb closed. And then she gives birth to John because Yahweh's opened up her womb. And that's a sort of a foretelling of Mary. Now, Mary, of course, is a virgin, so she's not barren because she's never tried to have kids before. But Yahweh opens her womb anyway, so it's a miraculous thing on par with opening up a barren womb of her cousin Elizabeth. So he can open up the womb of a virgin, and in fact cause her to be pregnant without even a man's being involved. So it's an even bigger miracle. So it's sort of like the exclamation point at the end of this whole process. But the overarching theme is the idea that Yahweh is in charge of life and death. And this is just sort of reiterated as all these heroes are born to do important things in the history of the Jewish people.
Shit. My phone just beeped. I hope that didn't show up on the recording. I'm going to redo 523, and I'm going to throw my phone in the trash. There, I did throw my phone across the room.